not fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
The elders have given us the answers, and we've made up some questions, haven't we?
Yeah.
And put it back together.
And then just being able to piece together a lot of archaeological information that doesn't make sense. So they'll come up with a site like Morjal Dam, which is shell midden. So it's just where they've eaten pippies and things like that and made a big midden, right? So some of the mainstream archaeologists have dated that, and that's
120,000 years. The guy that dated it was considered the grandfather of Australian archaeology. His name is Jim Fowler, and he was a great proponent of the out of Africa theory. He believed in it absolutely. But there he is, and he said they came here 40,000 years ago. We went down to this place, and he got dates south of Victoria, and got dates of 120, 130,000 years. And they all said, your science is good. And he said himself, oh, look, my science is right, but I want more dates. And he got more. And in an event, he gave up, and he told anyone that would listen. And what he had was two things, Billy. He had a date through fire stick farming, and he had middens. And the middens were there 120,000 years ago and stacked. And what mainstream have said is this: yes, the date is correct. Yes, the middens are there, but they didn't do it. Seagulls did it. I'm not joking. This is the answer they've given. I'm not. People, you might think I'm making it up. I'm going to give you the two answers they gave to dismiss it. The first one was the seagulls all got together, grabbed their shells, opened them up on this midden, and then ate them, as seagulls do.
It was very neat of them to put it very mild too.
And then the better one was the fire stick, the fires that were there to cook the middens and did this. Well, they said, yes, that was through bushfires coming onto the beach. Now, we have bushfires in Australia, and you know what people do when there's a bushfire? They all race to the beach because it won't burn. So what they've done, mainstream have said, no, yes, the middens are there, yes, the fires are there, but it wasn't done by humans. It was. And it goes back 130, 140,000 years. And if they came from Africa, you've got to add 30,000 years. The whole thing is wrong. Yeah. It's as simple as that. So what we've done is we've collected genetic evidence, we've collected archaeological evidence that proves this whole theory is wrong. Australia is the beginning cut place, and it goes from Australia. Original people have genetic line links that no one else has. I mean, let me give you one quick example, and I won't be too long. I'm 4.7% Denisovan. Now, the Denisovans, you know about them, Billy. They were around for a long period of time, and they wandered through Europe and Asia from about 700,000 years to about 15, but never went to Australia. And the theory is we never left Australia when we got here. So I'm 4.7%. I'm the third highest in the world. And only Denisovan, the only people who have a high level of Denisovan are original people. We go from 2 to 6%. No one else in the world does. Well, how can that be? Because they never came here and we never left. Well, that proves that one of those two theories that's fundamental to how we came into being is incorrect. And it was obvious. My elders told us we went out and civilized and gave genetics and wisdom to the rest of the world, and they came back for a long period of time. So that's the story. That's the truth. And remember one thing, ladies and gentlemen, the people from Africa do not have Denisovan and have very little Neanderthal in their genetic system. But they're supposed to be the first people, and the Neanderthals are supposed to come from Africa. Well, why is it the original people have got Neanderthal and Denisovan, and the African people have neither? There is nothing in this story that is correct. The whole story about coming out of Africa and coming from a group of monkeys is falling apart at every level.
Yeah.
The seven sisters coming here and landing on the land and becoming part of our story and our genetics. That has always been true. And that's where we come from.
Yeah, I believe it. When I came out there, I think it was right before the pandemic. Yeah. Actually, you know what? When I was leaving there from you guys, that's as my plane was taking off, they were locking down Australia, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I just escaped."
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You would have been staying for a while then.
Yeah, that was so wild because I remember hearing some news, and after coming back from the bush with you guys, and I was like, "Is this really going to make it to America?" And as I was taking off, the news on my phone was saying that they were locking down Australia. I said, "What in the world is really going on here?" So yeah, it was crazy. But when I was out there with you, we get to the outback, and a couple things that I saw, that were really incredible were, before we even go into the outback, we had to be saged. Okay. So we did our ritual. We had to be saged. And you were telling me a story, like, if we go on without doing this, the Aboriginals, the elders will know. They'll know that we didn't follow the routine. And then we had to go and we had to pray with a tree. And then the next thing we did was you had to call out to a special bird and wait for an answer. And all of that before we go in, to the area and start looking and exploring. So I thought that was pretty amazing. So Trudy, can you comment on that a little bit, like the tradition for that those sacred things that we had to accomplish just to get inside the outback?
Yeah, I sure can. See, Bill, every animal holds a law, and each law is to it own to a certain areas and that. And in order to pass through these areas or engage with these sites, you either have to have rites of passage or you have to get permission. And rites of passage will give you it's like a VIP pass through blood, through your connection. And if you carry the blood that connects to that site, you have rights to be there. But if you're a visitor to that site, you have to connect with that totem or connect with that spirit of that animal on that site before they permit you to go in, because you didn't get to the human permission, you know what I mean, to an elder, or you can go directly to the animal, to the spirit itself. And why a tree? Because trees are so sacred.
Mm-hmm.
Because trees are used as portals to other dimensions. A lot of our elders travel through them, and ancient ones, you'll see them there 1 minute, the next minute they're gone. They walked into a tree, and then they're just gone. Like, yeah. They're shapeshifted. They astro travel. And in my family bloodline alone, they call them clever men. They're the highest initiates. And they're titled as Murrigans. And you don't get called Murrigan unless you went through, I guess, like the masonries, 33-degree knowledge or whatever. They're high above that. That's the highest degree. And when you get that title, yeah, you're highly respected on the land. But in saying that, like, these men, in our language alone, Bill, we have 3 levels. We have the common language, we have ceremonial language, then we have that sacred language, that words that some of the clan would never know and hear of, because they're not at that high initiate level to even know that language and the esoteric stuff. And we use a tree as an example too, like you get the outer layer. That's the common knowledge everyone gets. But that inside, yeah, that's for high initiate. And we call the men, like I said, we call the men Weons. And we call the women Weongun. So, yeah, and then above them, Bill, like, it even goes right back to something that's so hard to explain. Like, I heard it once, a word saying where, where the human, the animal bone turns in, they end up walking upright. Bipedal, whatever it's called. Yeah, that word. Well, yeah, we see that happen all the time. Ancestors, those initiates are able to go from man to kangaroo, change just like that. If they had to travel somewhere and be somewhere so fast, they'd shapeshift to their totem animal. And yeah, they'd get there in no time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's incredible. I've seen, not to interrupt you, but I've seen little mini docuseries about what you just talked about. And it was so intriguing. It was a long time ago, probably 15, 20 years ago. And now hearing it from you, wow, that's really incredible that they would be able to just become these animals and then maneuver around and then come back to who they were or are. I guess it's really one and the same. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, and we know that very well, that our people have the ability to shapeshift and change and also master the elements, bend and manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
This is the power they actually possessed, knowledge.
Right. Wow. When I was out there with you, Evan and Stephen, in the at the Gosford Glyphs, can you just give a brief description for everyone? What's on one side, the Pleiadian glyphs, and then the right side, the Proto-Egyptian glyphs?
Yeah. Okay. It works like this. There's 3 panels there. There are 3 separate panels. They talk about one wall. That's not correct. The top wall, we actually got a manual created by Dr. Dia Abu Ghazi from
the Cairo Library. She was the director
general of that, and Ray Johnson. Together, they put together the language. It's called Proto-Egyptian. It's the first form of Egyptian, and they actually put the manual together, and we had that manual. And what we found was this, Billy. On the top panel there, I could actually find the name Nefertiti inside a cartouche, and it's a story about Nefertiti and two boats being wrecked, and Nefertiti was bitten by a snake twice.
They went westward
for 2 seasons, and Nefertiti died.
They gave him various medicines out of the medicine chest, including
and it didn't work. They should have asked the local
Australian snakes have really toxic venom.
9 of the 10 most toxic snakes on the planet live in Australia, and they use an egg yolk to try and come good. Well, it didn't work for him, and he died. But the other 2 passages on the other 2 walls are different. Now, the match up to Proto-Egyptian on that side, we got at 92%. We believe that was written by them, a story of them being here. And there is the cartouche, which is a square sort of panel. But on the other sides, they're all Syrex, and they're back to front. They're written in a different style, the wisdom of Thoth, because Thoth would write things in mirror reverse. And there it gets interesting, Billy, because we got a match-up of Proto-Egyptian on those sides of 42%. 58% weren't there. And we asked for sometimes, we couldn't work it out until Auntie Bev, an elder that took us on site there, Auntie Bev Spears. She was the custodian of that era. She told us that we, the original people, had a language that they learnt from us. Now, this is where it gets interesting. What we're saying is that the hieroglyphs that you see starts with Proto-Egyptian, but Proto-Egyptian did not start in Egypt. It started in Australia, and the 2 sons of Khufu, which is Nefertiti and Nefertiti, they came in a sort of a diplomatic mission to start a relationship with the original people, and that was the purpose of it. And we were told by another elder, Wallengarry, that they came for over 4,000 years, and they broke the convent about 400 years ago. We won't go through the story. That's quite complex. But during that period of time, the Egyptians were welcome, and they basically work with each other. Now, we have absolute proof, empirical proof, that this actually happened, because above the glyphs is a map. It's a star map.
Yeah, so star maps is generally a circle that's been engraved into the rock face, and it requires quite a lot of grinding.
About 800 impacts to get it. And what happened was someone stumbled upon it and took the star map to Sydney Uni, which is our biggest university in Australia.
Like a version of Harvard.
Harvard and Yale. So they didn't go to a Mickey Mouse uni, they went to a decent one. And they admitted that they found it and said that they lost it.
We're good at losing things.
Australia is when you find anything in Australia that's archaeologically unusual, it'll get lost. So they said they lost it, but we got the hard copy. We got a copy of it, and it has a date on it. And the date is 2500 BC, and it even gives you the date, I think July the 30th, and the time. That worked out to be around 4,600, 4,700 years, which is exactly the time and the reign of Khufu. And the two sons of Khufu came there. Now, this was put up not like in engravings. This was done by original people to mark this moment when the Egyptians first came here. So what we have with that particular piece of work, and by the way, there's another set of glyphs a long way away from there, which tells a story of someone being buried there. And it actually gives the staff that can only be carried by the son of the pharaoh or the pharaoh on that glyph. So we've got all this information running all around there telling us the Egyptians were actually here.
And we have
And then we have the bone. We have the bone that was found there and analyzed by a hospital. And I was told it's a human bone and it's ancient. And we also, Arnie Minnie Mace, when she went to the glyph, she picked up two pieces of dirt. One was the bone and the other one was a piece of metal. And it took her half an hour to get all the dirt off it. We had that analyzed. 73% aluminium, 3% copper, 24% not from this planet.
Yeah, not on the periodic table.
Not on the periodic table. And the gentleman who analysed this, that comes from Southern Cross University, and I can use his name, he runs the laboratory, Graham Lancaster, told me this was the hardest piece of metal they've ever worked on, but he said it's mainly aluminium. He said whatever was put into there has made it the hardest metal on this planet, and you will make billions from this. And we've had people tell us someone just dropped it in the dirt there by accident.
The other one I got told online was it was a Coca-Cola can that melted in a fire.
And it's got 24% a metal that's not on the periodic table. So when you pull that together around one side, you ask yourself, was this a fake? When we've got metal objects, we've got bone objects, we've got a star map above there, and we've got a manual that tells us, yes, that is definitely Nefer-Desheb that's been here.
Yeah.
And to this day, they say that the glyphs are fake.
Yeah.
So that's a very brief history.
Yeah, it's wild. And I know that we went into this other area where we saw carved into the actual ground, Thothamabi. And you had told me that, he was on the back of a sky ship flying through the Milky Way galaxy. Yeah. So Thoth has been to Australia, clearly. Yeah. He's written probably some of those glyphs on the wall there. So this character, Thoth, we know from ancient Egypt, has been, there's accounts of him all over the world, but obviously thousands and thousands of years ago, we see him right there in Australia, which is just amazing.
Yes, his name is called Bulgandri, yes, and he is there. He has the coat. What did Arnie Mep say about the piece of the coat of Orion run across his stomach?
Yes.
And I think it was Gabby Duncan, when he put on his law coat, great law coat, told the story about the fact that 8-meter boat that he has his foot on was the spaceship that he went through the Milky Way with. And it's a story of them coming to this place. And it's engraved on there. And of course, they've written it and said it's just, there's a black fella walking around and that's a big boat.
Oh, yeah, there's a kangaroo.
They're over there.
There are plenty of engravings in that area, which what did she say? They're wearing hats. They don't have a neck. They have this helmet.
Helmet, and you never get a neck. And we asked Arnie Bev, what is it? Wicks. We said, we call them hats. And I think hats, helmets, what's the difference here? It's the same thing. Yeah. That place is all about the mob that came from up there. Like Arnie Trudy said before, when my elder sent me up there, Kano told me exactly what Arnie Trudy was told. If I'm shown a site where they can't point to the stars, he said, walk away. They're telling you a lie. Everything in Australia relates to the up there. And we've got a saying, haven't we? Yeah. As on top, so below.
Right. Absolutely. Wow. That's just, it connects so many dots, not only for me, but I'm sure for a lot of people. And one of the things I talk about a lot is, I wrote a new book called Fractal Holographic Universe. And in this book, I propose that we may be living in a holographic matrix. Watch this video for free at www.4bk.tv or download the app on your smartphone, Fire Stick app, Samsung TV, Roku, and other app providers.